Newsom wants to do the Maui plan. What do you think the Maui locals think of the Maui plan? Yeah. I'm sorry, there aren't any more locals living there anymore.
Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear they're unable to respond effectively and responsibly during calamity. Whether it's sheer incompetence or outright malevolence, the reality is stark. California's in a state of turmoil, and I ask my fellow Angelenos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate?
Picture this. You're living in California. Sunshine, palm trees, the myth of opportunity. And yet every week feels like the state is speedrunning a brand new crisis. Fires, crime, homelessness, businesses bailing, Hollywood packing its bags like it just saw the rent increase. And while regular people are out here trying to survive, the leadership class is acting like everything's totally fine. Or at least fine enough to give another speech about reimagining your neighborhood after it burns down. If that sounds harsh, good, because today we're getting into why Mel Gibson is going scorched earth on Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, and why a lot of Californians are nodding along. And real quick, if you like this kind of no-filter breakdown, do me a favor, hit like, smash subscribe, and drop a comment right now with one word that describes California in 2026, because I already know this comment section is about to be a battlefield. Alright, let's start with the vibe because you can feel it through the screen. Gibson isn't doing that polished celebrity thing where they raise awareness with a gentle voice and a perfect PR smile. No, he's doing the old school, I've had it rant. He's basically saying Newsom's time in office has been a parade of disasters, with crime exploding, homelessness everywhere, inflation squeezing people, and the thing California used to be able to brag about. Hollywood slowly turning into a museum exhibit. And you don't have to be a movie star to understand the point. Because when your state's calling card is "this is where dreams are made," and suddenly it's cheaper to make your dream literally anywhere else. That's not just embarrassing. That's structural failure. And Gibson's most brutal argument is the simplest. If things are getting worse under your leadership, why are you still in charge? Like in any normal job, if the building is on fire, the customers are fleeing and the employees are crying in the break room. You don't get promoted to senior visionary of reimagining, you get fired. But in politics, it's like leaders get to fail upward as long as they sound confident while doing it. And Newsom, love him or hate him, is basically a human TED Talk. The hair is perfect, the words are smooth, and the results are exactly where.
And the tech industries have taken off, and many business and industries, they just left, they blew out of town because he's made it untenable for people to make a living here.
Here's where it gets interesting. Gibson's not just complaining about vibes. He's pointing at something measurable, the business exodus. And before someone jumps in like, oh my god, companies move all the time. Sure. But when big iconic players start relocating, it sends a message because these aren't broke little startups dragging a folding table to Austin. These are major companies that can afford to be anywhere, and they're choosing not to be in California. And the reason critics keep repeating is the same cocktail. High taxes, heavy regulation, high cost of living, and a political culture that seems weirdly hostile to the idea of making it easier to operate a business. Now, I'm not saying every company that leaves is a saint. Please. Corporations will chase cheaper labor like it's the last slice of pizza at a party. But you can hold two thoughts at once. Corporations are self-interested. And also, California has gotten so expensive and so bureaucratic that even self-interested corporations are like, yeah, no, we can't do this anymore. When the state that used to be the economic superstar starts bleeding employers, that's not a conspiracy. That's a red flag you can see from space. And then there's the Hollywood part, the crown jewel, the myth, the brand, the thing people around the world associate with California more than the state government itself. Gibson says the film industry used to be the mecca of filmdom, and now it's not.
Newsom, since he's been in, whatever you call it, office, has brought us nothing but rampant crime, acute homelessness, horrendous inflation. I mean, the industry I work in, the film industry, this used to be the mecca of filmdom. It is no more.
And honestly, you don't even need insider knowledge to see it. Productions have been shifting for years to Georgia, to Canada, to the UK, and to Eastern Europe. Anywhere there's a better deal, better incentives, and fewer headaches. And when Gibson tells that story about it being cheaper to fly a whole crew to Bulgaria, feed them, house them, film for days, and fly back, that's not just a funny anecdote, that's an indictment. Because think about how insane that sounds on its face. You'd assume filming down the street would be cheaper than crossing an ocean. But when down the street comes with permit nightmares, union costs, location restrictions, insurance costs, security costs, and a million tiny rules that stack into a mountain. Suddenly, Bulgaria starts looking like a bargain. That's the kind of thing that should make state leaders panic, not posture.
I had a job where I had to film down the street in LA, one day filming. It was cheaper for me to fly the entire crew to Bulgaria, feed them, house them for 3 days, shoot, come back.
Now, defenders of Newsom will say, but he increased tax credits. And yes, even Gibson admits there were concessions. California boosted incentives, expanded eligibility, and tried to make it more attractive to keep productions home. But here's the problem. When the underlying costs are still astronomical, tax credits are like putting a band-aid on a broken leg. You might look good doing it, but the person is still not walking. And studios are ruthless. They are not sentimental. They will not stay in California because of nostalgia. They will go where it's cheapest and easiest to make money.
He did sort of make some concessions, but he made sure it was just enough so the kids still ran off the farm and went somewhere else to work. It's inadequate. He wanted to appear magnanimous.
And every time a production leaves, it's not just Hollywood elites losing work. It's electricians, drivers, catering crews, costume departments, camera operators, editors, and the regular people who aren't famous, aren't rich, and can't just relocate to London for the next gig. When Hollywood shrinks in California, the pain hits working families first. So when Gibson frames this as leadership failure, he's really saying you're not protecting the ecosystem that feeds millions of livelihoods. But the rant doesn't stop at economics. It shifts to disaster response. And this is where the anger gets personal for a lot of people because wildfires aren't theoretical in California. They're not a debate club topic. They're packing a bag, the sky is orange, and your neighborhood might not exist tomorrow.
And so now he and Karen, they want us to trust them to reimagine our city for us.
No.
Yeah. Oh, no, he's going to build back better.
Gibson's point here is basically that leadership didn't do enough on prevention and then didn't respond effectively when the worst happened. And whether you agree or not, the emotional core of that argument is real. When disaster hits, people want competence, speed, and accountability. Not press conferences, not slogans, not we're rebuilding stronger while the ashes are still warm. And then comes that biting line about the Maui plan. The implication is brutal, that after disaster, the locals get displaced, the community gets reimagined, and somehow the people who lived there the longest end up with the least say. That's the fear. That's why that joke lands.
Someone wants to do the Maui plan. What do you think the Maui locals think of the Maui plan? Yeah. I'm sorry, there aren't any more locals living there anymore.
People hear reimagine, and they don't think of hope. They think developers, consultants, and commissions, and oh look, you can't afford to live here anymore. So when people ask, do you think the people of the Palisades or Aladina are going to be consulted? It's tapping into a deep distrust that regular residents get treated like an obstacle instead of the point. And if you're thinking, okay, but isn't that a little cynical? Sure, but cynicism doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from patterns. People don't wake up one day and randomly decide they don't trust leaders. They lose trust after watching leaders dodge responsibility, shift blame, and then demand even more money and power.
They all had to leave town. Do you think the people of the Palisades or Altadena are going to be consulted about how their areas are reimagined by Newsom and Bass?
No. They want to build low-income housing.
Which leads to one of the most explosive parts, the blame game. Critics say Karen Bass shifted blame onto the fire chief and that there were accusations about funding cuts leaving departments under-resourced. Now, I'm not here to litigate every budget line item on a YouTube narration script, but the political dynamic is obvious. When something goes wrong, leaders often try to find a fall guy. And nothing makes people angrier than watching the people on the front lines get thrown under the bus while the people at the top keep their titles.
Pathetic, and despicable things I've seen was when Karen Bass, in order to shift the blame and culpability from herself, wiped it on the fire chief and threw her under the bus for speaking the truth about how the department had been defunded.
That's not leadership. That's cowardice with a microphone. And then you get to the money, the give us $40 billion part. The reason that lands like a bomb is because a lot of Californians feel like they've already been paying premium prices. Premium taxes, premium housing, premium everything, and they're not getting premium results. So when someone says, trust us with billions more, The natural response is based on what track record? If your big projects get delayed, go over budget, or produce underwhelming outcomes, people aren't going to clap when you ask for a bigger check. They're going to lean back and go, wait, where did the last check go?
Now Gavin has asked for $40 billion of federal dollars to do whatever he has in mind. Yeah. Why would we trust him with that kind of funding?
You already told it. You're really wrong.
Now the celebrity angle is what makes this pop culturally, because Gibson isn't some random guy yelling at a city council meeting. He's a Hollywood name, and he's criticizing the very leadership that tends to get a lot of friendly coverage in entertainment circles. That's why it hits different. It's like when someone from inside the club says, yeah, the club is falling apart. And then you add Jon Voight, who's been loudly critical of Newsom for years, and suddenly you have this mini actors versus governor saga that plays perfectly online. Voight's comments are intense. He frames unrest and riots in apocalyptic language. He praises Trump for calling in federal forces. He basically paints this picture of California leadership being weak in the face of chaos. And look.
You're a fool blaming Trump. What are you doing for this destruction of these animals destroying Los Angeles? Are you there, talking calmly with them, you fool? They would burn you down like they're burning the cars and the American flag, with no regard for humanity. This is not about Trump. This is about protecting the people from these animals and criminals trying to destroy us. And our police force, are they supposed to stand there, let rocks hit them and kill them? Who's going to save them? You? President Trump called in the National Guard and the Marines to help with these destructive, barbaric riots.
You can disagree with the tone, the framing, the politics, all of it. But it's tapping into a real voter emotion, fear of disorder, and anger at perceived inaction. When people watch videos of streets on fire, businesses being looted, police overwhelmed, and leaders sounding hesitant, it creates a sense that nobody is in charge. And here's the scary part. Once the public believes nobody is in charge, they start looking for anyone who sounds like they will take control. That's how political pendulums swing hard. Not because everyone suddenly became an extremist, but because people get exhausted and desperate. Stability becomes the luxury item everyone wants, and they'll vote for whoever promises it, even if they don't like them. So when the transcript asks, why are Newsom and Bass still in office? That's the core thesis. It's not just policy arguments. It's a legitimacy argument. It's saying, you failed the competence test. And in a functioning system, failure has consequences.
It has caused chaos for the people. You're a disgrace. You're nothing but a lying dog for the hopes of becoming the president one day. And God is my witness, truth will prevail because of your faults and your incompetence for California's failures. We the people, I stand with Donald Trump to make this state great again. For we the people choose Donald Trump to save America, and we're in danger with threats from terrorists now, and we must protect our country. This has now become good against evil, and evil will lose because our President of the United States of America was sworn in to protect this nation's greatest gifts: freedom, safety, prosperity. And he will, because he is the greatest president since Abraham Lincoln.
Now let's talk about the impeachment talk, because that's where the rhetoric turns into a direct call for removal. Gibson in this script is portrayed as saying Californians should have moved to impeach Newsom and Bass. That's nuclear. And it's also a sign of how far the frustration has gone. Because impeachment isn't a casual suggestion. It's what people say when they've stopped believing reform is possible under the current leadership. And whether you personally think impeachment is warranted or not, you can't ignore the underlying question it raises. What is the accountability mechanism when a state feels like it's declining? Elections are slow. Recalls are rare. Bureaucracies are thick. And meanwhile, regular people are dealing with immediate realities. Rent that feels like a prank, streets that feel less safe, businesses closing, and a general sense that the California dream is becoming the California subscription fee.
Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have already proven their incompetence and poor leadership during the Los Angeles wildfires. Now, as we experience rampant lawlessness and civil unrest, it's never been more clear they're unable to respond effectively and responsibly during calamity. Whether it's sheer incompetence or outright malevolence, the reality is stark. California's in a state of turmoil, and I ask my fellow Angelenos, why are Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass still in office? How much more of their destructive decision-making masquerading as leadership are we going to tolerate?
But wait, there's more. Because the wild part is that California still has everything going for it on paper. It has natural beauty that looks fake. It has top universities. It has innovation. It has culture. It has agriculture. It has ports. It has talent. It has money. A state with this much going for it should not feel like it's constantly one step away from a breakdown. Which is why the anger gets so sharp. People aren't mad because they hate California. They're mad because they love what California could be. And they feel like leadership is squandering it. So here's the question I want you to sit with. If you're a leader and the cost of living is brutal, businesses are leaving, homelessness is expanding, and disasters keep exposing weak systems, what do? Do you tighten up governance and focus on basics, public safety, affordability, infrastructure, and emergency readiness, or do you keep selling visions and slogans while the foundation cracks? Because at the end of the day, this whole debate isn't really about Mel Gibson. It's about trust. Do Californians trust Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass to steer the state through crisis? Do they trust them to rebuild communities in a way that benefits the people who actually live there? Do they trust them to spend massive funds responsibly? Or has the trust account been drained so thoroughly that no speech can refill it? And if you're watching this from outside California, don't get comfy because what happens in California doesn't stay in California. Trends start there. Policies, cultural shifts, media narratives, and economic signals. When California struggles, it's a warning sign for other states about what happens when governance gets outpaced by reality. So yeah, Gibson going after Newsom might look like celebrity drama on the surface. But underneath it is something way bigger, a public mood that's turning from concern to fed up. And once people get fed up, they don't want another committee. They don't want another promise. They want change. Fast, visible, undeniable change. Now, I want to hear from you. If you live in California, what's the biggest thing you've watched change over the last few years? Safety, affordability, jobs, quality of life, all of it. And if you don't live in California, do you think this is a uniquely California problem, or do you see pieces of it happening where you live too? Drop it in the comments because I guarantee you're not the only one thinking it. And if you made it this far, you already know what to do. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with that friend who's always saying California is fine while simultaneously sending you Zillow listings in 3 different states. I'll see you in the next one.